So this is former French Minister for Foreign Affairs, Roland Dumas, on French television, talking about Syria. He said, I'm going to tell you something. I was in England, no, not America, England, one of the major centers of global manipulation, Britain. I'm going to tell you something. I was in England 2 days before the violence in Syria, 2 years rather, before the violence in Syria, on other business. I met with top British officials who confessed to me that they were preparing something in Syria. This was in Britain, not in America. Britain was going or organizing an invasion of rebels into Syria. They even asked me, he said, although I was no longer Minister for Foreign Affairs, if I would like to participate. Naturally, I refused. This operation goes way back. It was prepared, preconceived, and planned. He goes on. This operation goes way back. It was prepared, preconceived, and planned in the region. It is important to know that this Syrian regime has a very anti-Israeli stance. Consequently, and I have this from the former Israeli Prime Minister who told me, we'll try to get on with our neighbors, but those who don't agree with us will be destroyed. And if we're going to understand Israel and why this sliver of land of 8 million people has such an impact on the world, we have to understand that actually it's just the fiefdom of the Rothschilds. Israeli people living in Israel, they're just pawns to these people and don't realize. Just fiefdom of the Rothschilds. And the idea all along was to take Palestine and get the Palestinians out, take the whole place over, all orchestrated from the start by the House of Rothschild, still being done so. And this week, those of us who have said over the years, the plan from the start was to rid the land of Palestinians. They don't want a solution. And this week, a document was declassified from the time of the Six-Day War in 1967, soon after, which reveals in official documents the strategy all along has been to suffocate the Gaza Strip and get rid of Palestinians out of Palestine. And with Trump in power, he gets what the hell he likes. And it's interesting that a leaked email sent by Colin Powell, who was Secretary of State at the time of 9/11, it was leaked, an email from March 2015. And Powell revealed that Israel has 200 nuclear weapons. And apparently all of them, he said, have been aimed at Iran. This is a nuclear weapons program that Israel won't admit to, and America, as part of official policy, does not ask about. So, if you're going to keep invading countries, your target countries, like Iraq, etc., then people are going to go, hold on a second. What do they keep invading countries for? So you do it in a way that gets people in that country to get rid of the regime for you, but under your control. And this is what the Arab Spring was all about. This guy, George Soros, operates a network globally called the Open Society Foundations. Their specialization is manipulating revolutions, particularly ones given the name of a color, and the revolutions of the people, it's called, like Arab Spring. And very recently, it was announced that he had transferred $18 billion to this Open Society Foundation network. So obviously, there's an enormous plan unfolding, or plan to unfold ahead, using that network which he controls. And as well as the Soros network, which cannot be overestimated in its influence, more about him as we go along, there is this document from US Special Forces Unconventional Warfare Strategy, November the 30th, 2010. This is just before the Arab Spring started in Tunisia, and it describes their plan exactly as it unfolded. It says, the US military's unconventional warfare strategy requires that target state population perceptions are first groomed into accepting an armed resurrection, using propaganda and political and psychological efforts to discredit the government, creating local and national agitation, helping organize boycotts, strikes, and other efforts to suggest public discontent, before beginning the infiltration of foreign organizers and advisors for foreign propaganda, material, money, weapons, and equipment. Exactly what has happened in the Middle East after that document in September 2000. It goes on. If retaliation by the target government occurs, the resistance can exploit the negative consequences to garner more sympathy and support from the population by emphasizing the sacrifices and hardship the resistance is enduring on behalf of the people. He's killing his own people. And Henry Kissinger said, "It is not a matter of what is true that counts, but what is perceived to be true. It's all about manipulating perception so that people will support." You look at perception. What is perception? It dictates what we think, what we don't think, what we'll challenge, what we won't challenge, what we'll support, what we won't support. Perception is everything, and that's the battleground. And how powerful perception manipulation is. This was a poll in America where 30% in the poll wanted to bomb Agrabah, which is a fictional town in Aladdin. That's how easy it is. And now Mr. Populist man, Mr. Anti-establishment man comes into power. It's all going to change now. And the demonization of these countries has continued under him. All countries on the same list, and Lebanon. I say in my new book, Everything You Need to Know But Have Never Been Told, which I only kind of finished like very few weeks ago. Watch for Lebanon being demonized, because it's on the list, and they'll come for that. Look what's happening with Lebanon now, suddenly out of nowhere. Israel calls on Arab states to befriend Israel and team up against Iran. They want Iran. This is where it's all building. And this new crown prince, again, I mentioned him in the new book and his background. This crown prince in Saudi Arabia, who's imprisoned all these billionaires and fellow princes to get control of Saudi Arabia, he is completely owned by Israel and the United States. And that's why his rhetoric now is, we must deal with Iran. It's all a script. It's all a movie script. It is not a random series of events. And where they want it to lead, and it doesn't have to, if we get our asses in gear, they want it to lead to World War III. You look at the 3 world wars. First of all, the status quo as it was before World War I was destroyed by World War I. They then change the status quo and they move on to the Second World War. They destroy the new status quo. And now they want to destroy this status quo and impose another one. And it was all described in a letter alleged to come from this man called Albert Pike, in a letter in 1871, according to a Canadian naval intelligence officer. This guy, Albert Pike, was a major Freemason, very high Freemason, sovereign Grand Commander. And in this letter, which was revealed by this intelligence agent in the 1950s, he described 3 world wars. Now, he described the First World War accurately, described the Second World War accurately, but it only came to light through this guy in the 1950s. So the first 2 wars, forget them, not relevant to accuracy. So we've only got the Third World War left. And what he said would happen is that there would be a conflict between what he called political Zionism and the Islamic world, which would draw in, like a vortex, more and more countries until it was a world conflict. He said that in the run-up to this Third World War, they would, quote, unleash the nihilists on the world. And nihilism is defined as a political belief or action that advocates or commits violence or terrorism without discernible constructive goals. ISIS and these other terrorist groups to a T. And I would say it also fits this Antifa, who are very much in the control of people like George Soros, as I'll come to. And so we reached the point, I said in the 1990s that the plan was the Third World War. involving China. And here we have the Pentagon now listing Russia and China as top global threats and saying that they must increase the budget to meet the threat. And of course, Russia, out of nowhere, until very relatively recently, was being left alone. But now, the demonization of Russia is almost laughable. Look, Russia wants war. Look how close it put its country to our military bases. It obviously wants, he wants trouble. The NATO war machine, and what it is, it's simple. Demonize, destroy. Demonize, destroy. Demonize, prepare the public mind to destroy. This is how it works. This is why they're demonizing Russia now. Russia has not seen such an amassing of hostile military forces on its borders since 1941. And Lithuania and Estonia